In this presentation, we give an overview of the main results of the paper titled, The GDPR Compliance and Access Control Systems, Challenges and Research Opportunities, authored by Saeed Dowdag and Ida Marchetti, from ICISSP, CNR of Pisa. During the presentation, we briefly introduce the background and research goals, then we discuss the identified research questions and their possible answers. Finally, we move to conclusion and future work. Let's start talking just a little bit about the GDPR, which stands for General Data Protection Regulation. The GDPR is the currently applicable legal framework for the protection of personal data of European citizens. The GDPR precisely defines concepts and roles such as data subject, personal data, which is any information about the data subject and all the other stakeholders involved in personal data management. Despite the simplicity of the GDPR statements, their realization is not straightforward. Indeed, one of the most experienced difficulties is the GDPR technical interpretation. As evidenced by the data shown in this slide, GDPR violations and related fines are constantly increasing within all the European state members and reaching around 1,000 fines. As you can see, the most encountered type of violations are still the insufficient legal basis for data processing, with around 337 fines. The non-compliance with general data processing principles, the insufficient technical and organizational measures to ensure information security, and the insufficient fulfillment of data subjects. In this situation, and inspired primarily by the integrity and confidentiality principle, which calls for the adoption of access control to regulate the access to personal data, we conceived the following main research goal: leverage access control systems, the de facto mechanisms used to restrict data access, as a technical solution for protecting personal data by design, and gaining legal compliance with the GDPR. The choice of access control systems has two pivotal aspects: their structure and their applicability. Structurally, access control systems by construction satisfy the principle of integrity and confidentiality because they rely on access control policies, a set of rules that specify who has access to which resources and under which circumstances. Considering the applicability, thanks to their standardized reference architecture, access control systems can be easily integrated within the existing business processes. Consequently, these two pivotal aspects, access control systems, can be leveraged to protect personal data from a security perspective and process them lawfully from the legal perspective. By referring to the type of the violations, satisfying the proposed goal thought the use of access control systems can effectively target the first four types of violations. Indeed, the goal is contextualized in the intersection between three main disciplines. Software engineering, because it asks for systematic development approaches. Security, because access control is one of its cornerstones. And the legal domain, because GDPR is a legal framework. However, in using access control as a technical solution for protecting personal data by design and gaining legal compliance with the GDPR, several challenges have to be faced up. Thus, one of the contributions of this paper is a classification of the most important ones, into two categories: the general and the specific to access control. Among the general challenges, we identify performing the data protection impact assessment, defining a GDPR-based development lifecycle and enforcing and demonstrating the compliance with the legal framework. Concerning the adoption of access control, the identified challenges concerning modeling the law as access control policies, enforcing the relative policies, guaranteeing that the enforced policies are the valid and correct ones with respect to the GDPR. In replying to these challenges, software engineering researchers need to focus on a variety of methodological and technical aspects. Thus, the second contribution of this paper is the definition of the following open research questions. The first research question aims at understanding and investigating how access control systems can be used for guaranteeing compliance with the GDPR. Access control systems have already been used for managing privacy concepts such as purpose and consent, demonstrating their adequacy for protecting personal data, and satisfying compliance with the GDPR. However, as is highlighted in the slide, several questions are still open to make access control used in practice. Moreover, accurate analysis of the current adoption in other legal frameworks and the industry is still needed, so as to provide a systematic approach for designing and using authorization systems in the context of the GDPR. Indeed, one of the most promising answers to this research question is to focus on GDPR-based lifecycle, for developing access control systems in compliance with the GDPR. Additionally, reference architecture for its semi-automation implementation are currently emerging. The intent is to provide support for the different development phases in order to automatically implement specific use cases based on the GDPR. The second research question investigates to what extent can the GDPR's obligations be represented and enforced using access control. Usually, legal requirements are expressed in natural language, they are agnostic to the available technologies and can be too vague to be automatically implemented. However, by defining the integrity and confidentiality principle, the GDPR implicitly calls for adopting access control systems. Thus, the question of how to identify, extract and define the access control policies that are by design compliant with the GDPR is not straightforward. Systematic approaches to gathering access control requirements from the GDPR are currently one of the possible answers. As exemplified in this slide, usually, these proposals include three phases: the translation of the most suitable GDPR's articles into specific access control policies templates, the definition of a customized legal use case for each GDPR article related to access control, and finally, the generation of enforceable access control policies in a given language. The GDPR provisions that are expressed in legal jargon cannot be immediately interpreted as technical requirements. That causes a general rethink of the organization's data practices and continuous and expensive research of ad hoc technical solutions to guarantee compliance with the GDPR's obligations. Therefore, the third research question aims at understanding how to automatically extract, from the legal specifications, all and only the required information necessary for the definition of technical requirements that can be easily implemented. Among the available proposals, one of the most promising relies on the use of the concept of user stories for data protection requirements representations. This also involves the definition of conceptual models of GDPR-based user stories. As in this slide, the GDPR's structure of the mandatory articles is unfolded into basic and concrete elements and used to automatically translate the user stories into access control policies. To promote the adoption of the solutions into real context, accurate analysis of the available proposals and an evaluation of their effectiveness in achieving compliance with the GDPR are necessary. Therefore, further research questions can be defined for the purpose of understanding the usage of standards and how to integrate pre-existing solutions for achieving compliance with the GDPR. Thanks to the peculiarity of the access control, supporting facilities to perform specific functionalities can be easily integrated into the different available proposals. Current answers for accomplishing compliance with the GDPR can rely on either the usage of technologies such as semantic web, and in particular legal ontologies, to express GDPR concepts and relationships among them, or the definition of consent management systems that are specific applications for managing the entire life cycle of the consent given by the data subject. Indeed, the consent management systems are often based on reference format. The GDPR is potentially applicable to every domain and to any context processing personal data. Similarly, access control systems are having a widespread adoption for ruling the resources and data access in different ICT systems. The aim of this research question is therefore to investigate whether the synergistic union between the GDPR and access control could be pivotal for developing adaptable solutions everywhere. Indeed, smart ICT systems, business processes, indoor localization systems and smart cities are the most promising application domains. As example, by considering the smart ICT systems, appropriate support to aid controllers in developing privacy by design smart services can be provided. In this case as reported in this slide, the generic architecture of smart ICT systems can be enhanced with a new layer, called GDPR Manager. It allows a user-friendly interaction with the end users of the smart ICT system, the management of activities dependent on the domain, and finally, the automatic derivation of access control policies according to the collected consents. Other examples of application domains that can be leveraged by the synergistic use of GDPR and access control are the indoor localization systems and the business process of a specific company. Recently, the GDPR-aware indoor localization system has been also adopted for the guaranteeing a lawful social distancing. For further details, we refer to the related scientific contributions. Any kind of possible solution could be useless without the validation and assessment strategy to guarantee the required security level. Therefore, the last research question aims to investigate which are the most appropriate means for discovering the criticalities of a system and the identification of the efficacious and corrective actions to improve its overall security. In case of access control systems, this is even more critical because their security and privacy vulnerabilities could allow unauthorized access from the security perspective, or to enable unlawful processing of personal data from the legal perspective. Therefore, the testing solutions should be guided by the several sub-research questions reported in the slide. They concern both the access control policies and systems testing. They promote as much as possible testing automation. A recent answer to some of the previously listed sub-research questions is reported in this slide. This is a comprehensive testing framework capable of formally validating both access control policies and access control mechanisms. It includes facilities like GROOT and XACMET for test strategy selection and derivation, tools for test case execution and result evaluation, and Oracle definition. Additionally, for assessing GDPR-based test cases generation strategies, the tool graduation based on mutation analysis is also included. As shown in this presentation, pairing up data privacy and data security is becoming pivotal for promoting trustworthiness in services and products, for managing personal data and for guaranteeing the data subject's rights. In this presentation, different research questions and possible answers have been identified with the objective to leveraging the access control systems as a technical means for protecting personal data by design and therefore gaining legal compliance with the GDPR, and to promote several research activities. However, despite the accuracy devoted to investigating the challenges and the related research questions, future works are still possible. In this slide we report just a few of them, such as discussing with legal experts for enriching the possible research challenges, defining specific methodology for verifying and demonstrating the compliance with the regulation, and extending the challenges and research questions to other legal frameworks. Thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to let us know. We will be more than happy to answer them.